The first missed call didn't bother me. I figured it was Sarah just checking in. The second one had me frowning. By the fifth missed call, I was already in my truck, hands still grimy from the job site, heart pounding like a hammer in my chest. I hit redial as I threw the truck into reverse. She answered on the first ring. Mike? Oh my God. Someone broke into the house. Everything's trashed. I froze. You okay? I'm outside. I'm not hurt, but it's bad, Mike. It's bad. I didn't know who else to call. I think it was Jason. I blinked. Jason? Jason next door. Yeah, she said, her voice sharp and shaky. He has a key, remember? From when we were out of town last Christmas. I never asked for it back. I saw him watching the house earlier. I pulled out of the lot and sped toward home. Sarah, did you call the police? Yeah, they're on their way. I didn't go back inside. Mike. The TV's smashed, drawers pulled out, stuff thrown everywhere. But nothing's gone. It doesn't even make sense. Didn't. Jason and I hadn't been on good terms lately. Sure, we had a falling out over a deal. He was supposed to buy into a contracting job with me and backed out last minute, screwing my timeline and reputation. But breaking into our house? Destroying stuff for no reason. Stay outside. Wait for the cops. Don't go back in until I get there, I said, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles cracked. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered. Traffic blurred past as I sped down Route 18. My mind bounced between disbelief and gut instinct. Jason could be a jerk, but this wasn't his style. He was loud when he was mad, not sneaky. Still, Sarah sounded genuinely freaked out. If she was faking, she deserved an Oscar. When I turned the corner onto our street, red and blue lights bounced across the front of the house. Sarah stood on the lawn, arms crossed, pale as chalk, her eyes locked on the front door like it might bite her. A uniformed officer met me at the curb. You Mike? Yeah. What the hell happened? Your wife says someone broke in. Place is a mess. She mentioned a neighbor, Jason? I nodded, eyes narrowing. That's what she told me. But I need to see it myself. I walked past the officer and up the driveway, heart pounding harder than ever. The front door was wide open. I stepped inside. I stepped through the doorway and stopped cold. The living room looked like a tornado hit it. Couch cushions tossed, framed photos face down or shattered on the hardwood. Drawers pulled out and dumped onto the floor. But it wasn't random. It looked staged. The front door hadn't been kicked in. No broken lock. No signs of a struggle at the entry. Just wide open like someone walked right in. The TV caught my eye, still mounted. But the screen was spiderwebbed, deep gashes through the glass. I stepped closer. It wasn't dropped or knocked over, it was straight up attacked. Looked like someone smashed it with something heavy and did it on purpose. The officer followed me in. Your wife said your neighbor might have had a key? I nodded slowly. Jason. Yeah. He had one last year when we went to Arizona for Christmas. She never gave it back, I guess. You believe he'd do something like this? I don't know, I said, jaw tight. We had words, but this? Not like him. Behind me, Sarah hovered in the doorway, arms folded across her chest like she was freezing. He was watching the house today, she said. I saw him standing on his porch, just staring. The officer glanced at her, then back at me. You got any cameras? Security system. Sarah's head jerked slightly. No, we used to, but we do. I cut in. I installed a system last year. You forgot. Her face dropped for half a second. Just a flicker. But I caught it. The officer nodded. Mind pulling that footage up? I headed for the hallway closet where the DVR box was tucked in behind old coats and a busted vacuum. I flipped it on and pulled out my phone to connect. The live feed popped up, but I went straight to the timeline and started scrolling back to late afternoon. Sarah edged behind me, suddenly quiet. I found the right clip, pressed play, and there she was. Sarah, alone, standing in the middle of the living room. No panic, no fear, just calm, focused movements. She hurled the TV remote across the room like she was aiming for a home run. It bounced off the wall. She picked up the lamp from the end table, one of those heavy glass ones we got from her mom, and slammed it into the TV screen over and over like she was possessed. Glass sprayed. Pieces fell. She didn't even flinch. Then she moved through the room one item at a time. Tossed photo frames. Knocked over a chair. Pulled open drawers and dumped them. The whole thing took less than 5 minutes. "Pause that," the officer said, voice tight. I froze the frame with Sarah standing in the middle of the mess, breathing hard, hair in her face, mouth set in a tight, blank line. Sarah's face had gone white. She took a step back. "That's Mike, I can explain. I didn't. It's not what it looks like." I didn't say a word. Couldn't. My heart was punching through my chest. The officer looked from the screen to her. "You reported a break-in." Sarah's hands started to tremble. "I was going to clean it up. I panicked. Okay? I thought." "You thought what?" I snapped. She shut up. The officer took a breath. "This footage changes everything. I'll need a copy of this now." I nodded and tapped the export button. Sarah stepped forward. "Wait, please, Mike, don't do this. Work's been hell and I lost it. I didn't know what to do." I didn't even look at her. The officer turned to her. "Ma'am, you'll need to stay put. We have some questions." I handed over the footage. My fingers were cold. The officer tucked the flash drive into an evidence bag while Sarah kept talking like words alone could erase what we'd just seen. "Please, Mike," she said, her voice climbing. "You know me. I would never do something like that on purpose. It wasn't God. I just lost control for a minute." I turned toward her, and for the first time I didn't feel pity, just anger. "You smashed our stuff, Sarah. You called the cops. You blamed Jason. I didn't mean to. You don't understand what it's like right now. Work's been hell, and you're never home, and—" Her breath hitched, eyes darting to the officer. "I just wanted help. Okay? I didn't think anyone would believe me if I said I was having a breakdown." The officer stepped between us. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to stay right here while I finish collecting evidence." She folded her arms but stayed put, muttering under her breath. I walked past them, out onto the porch to get some air. My hands were shaking, but not from shock anymore, just fury. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and before I could think twice, I scrolled to Jason's number and hit call. He answered over the clanging of metal in the background. "Mike? You good, man? Where are you right now?" "Still at the shop." "Why? You been there all day?" "Since 3. Haven't even taken a smoke break." "What's going on?" I rubbed my forehead, staring at the flashing lights from the squad cars. "Nothing. Just needed to confirm something." "Don't worry about it." Jason paused. "This about Sarah? She called me earlier. Said something about the house getting trashed." "Yeah," I said. "It's handled now." "All right. You need anything, holler." "I'm sorry, man." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. The relief hit slow, like cold water creeping up your legs. At least Jason was clean. That meant this nightmare was exactly what it looked like. Sarah losing it and trying to cover her tracks. When I walked back inside, the officer was still with her. She was pacing the room, hair clinging to her face, voice rising again. "You can't seriously think I did this on purpose." I didn't even remember those cameras existed until he said it. The officer's tone was calm, but firm. "Ma'am, the footage is conclusive. There's no one else on the tape but you." Sarah's eyes shot to me like I was the one who'd betrayed her. "You could have deleted it, Mike. You didn't have to show them." I laughed, sharp, bitter. "You wanted to blame Jason. What was I supposed to do? Lie for you?" She pressed her lips together, shaking her head. "You always take other people's sides. Other people don't trash their own damn house." The officer raised a hand. "All right, that's enough. Mrs. Collins, you'll need to give a statement about why you filed a false report. Mr. Collins, you can wait outside while we finish up." I didn't argue. I walked out, past the mess, past the shattered glass, straight into the yard. The night air hit hard, the kind that sticks in your lungs and won't go away. I leaned on the railing of the porch and stared at the grass, trying to make sense of how my life had just gone sideways in under an hour. Behind me, I could still hear her voice. Pleading, defensive, desperate. None of it sounded real anymore. I wanted to yell. I wanted to throw something just to feel what she must have felt before she lost it. But I didn't. I just stood there, fists clenched, listening as the officer's radio crackled and another patrol car pulled up. The sound of boots on the gravel told me they were coming out. The officer stepped down the porch first, holding his clipboard. "We'll need you both to come down to the station tomorrow. We've got what we need for tonight." I nodded. "Yeah, I'll be there." He gave me a look, half sympathy, half warning, and walked off toward his cruiser. Sarah stayed on the porch behind me, silent now, just breathing hard. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. I walked straight to my truck, climbed in, and sat there until the engine heat kicked in. That's when it finally hit me. The woman I thought I knew was gone, and the mess inside wasn't just the house anymore. It was everything. I sat in the back of the cruiser with the door open, filling out a written statement while my hands still smelled like sawdust and drywall. My pen scratched hard over the paper, like pressure made the words matter more. Name, address, occupation, construction foreman, 6 years with Midstate Contracting. Then I heard boots on gravel again. Not patrol this time, heavier, slower, like someone who'd seen a lot of this kind of crap before. "Mike Collins?" A voice called out. I looked up. The guy walking toward me was older, maybe late 50s, silver at the temples, square jaw, no nonsense. Black jacket, badge on the belt. Detective for sure. "That's me." He stuck out a hand. "Detective Roberts. I've been briefed. Can we talk inside?" I nodded and led him back toward the house, stepping around broken glass and knocked over furniture like it was normal now. He stood in front of the TV for a second, lips tight, then turned toward me. "I saw the footage. You mind walking me through your day? Start to finish?" "Sure." I rubbed my jaw, tried to think in order. I left the house around 7:30, hit the site over in Hudson, poured concrete until lunch, left the job around 4:30, stopped for gas, checked my phone, saw Sarah had called me 5 times. "You come straight here after that?" "Yeah." Called her back. She told me the house got broken into. Said she thought it was our neighbor, Jason. He raised a brow. "Why would she think that?" I hesitated. "We've had issues with him before. Work stuff. He was supposed to buy into a framing contract with me. Flaked last minute, cost me a big client. We haven't talked since." "But you don't believe he had anything to do with this?" "No." He answered when I called. Said he'd been working at the metal shop all afternoon. I believe him. Robert scribbled something in his notebook, then looked up. "How's your relationship with your wife, Mike?" I clenched my jaw. "It's been rocky." "Define rocky." I let out a breath. "We've been arguing. A lot. She thinks I work too much, says I don't pay attention to her anymore. She quit therapy a few months ago and started picking fights over nothing. She's not the same." Outside the window, I could hear her voice getting louder again. She was talking to a female officer on the porch, hands flailing, tone shrill and cracked. None of it sounded coherent. Roberts didn't even glance outside. "She made a serious false report. This is felony territory if it sticks. Has she ever done something like this before?" I didn't answer right away. My gut twisted. "Mike," he said, firm but not unkind. I nodded. "She claimed a guy from her office stalked her last year. Told HR he followed her home. Made threats. Company took it real serious until the guy showed proof he was in another city that day. Whole thing disappeared overnight. They moved her to another department. She called it a misunderstanding." Roberts nodded like he'd heard it all before. "That matches up with what I'm seeing now. People don't usually escalate like this out of nowhere." "So what happens next?" "We'll finish our report tonight. She'll likely be charged with filing a false report and destruction of property. If she keeps spinning this story, it's only going to get worse for her." Outside, Sarah's voice cracked into a sob. "You don't believe me. Nobody ever believes me." Roberts didn't react. He just tucked his notepad away. "You need to be prepared, Mike. This won't end clean. She's unraveling. I stared at the wreckage in my living room. Yeah, I can see that now. I got home around 10 that night, still smelling like concrete dust and police station coffee. The house was dead quiet, but the mess was still there. Shattered glass, overturned drawers, my life cracked open like a dropped beer bottle. I didn't bother cleaning. I just sat on the couch and stared at what was left of the TV. That's when my phone buzzed. Sarah, you ruined me. You made me look insane. Another one came seconds later. Sarah, you always wanted people to think I'm crazy. You finally got what you wanted. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over reply. But there was nothing to say. I blocked her number and tossed the phone on the table. 10 minutes later, it lit up again. Unknown number. Sarah, you think you're free? You're not. Everyone will know what you did. Then another. Sarah, I can't believe you'd humiliate me like this. You'll regret it. I blocked that one too. Another came through from a different number. She was relentless, each text more frantic, more venomous. My chest tightened, not from fear, just exhaustion. I didn't even recognize her words anymore. Just noise from a woman who'd completely lost control. I went to the kitchen, cracked open a beer, and leaned on the counter. For a second, the quiet was good. Then my phone rang again, but this time it was a real number, Detective Roberts. Mike, he said, voice low and steady. Just wanted to give you an update. Yeah. We picked her up an hour ago. She's being booked for filing a false report. She'll likely spend the night in holding until arraignment tomorrow. I rubbed the back of my neck. So that's it then? For now. But you need to prepare yourself. This won't be over quickly. She's already claiming you set her up. I let out a bitter laugh. Set her up? She's the one who trashed the place. I know. The footage is airtight. But people like her, they don't stop easy. She'll fight every inch of this. There was a pause on the line, heavy and uncomfortable. Roberts finally said, Look, Mike, I've seen this pattern before. The anger, the blame, the stories changing every hour. It's not your fault, but it's going to take time to untangle. Yeah, I muttered. Time's about the only thing I've got left. He gave me the rundown, arraignment, evidence submission, the DA's office calling in a few days. His tone was practical, businesslike, but under it there was something else. Pity, maybe, or warning. Do yourself a favor, he said. Get a lawyer. Don't wait. You're going to need one. After he hung up, I just stood there for a while, staring at the dark window over the sink. My reflection looked older somehow. Tired. Worn down from years of pretending things were fine when they weren't. I went back to the living room, grabbed my phone, and searched divorce attorneys near me. A dozen names popped up, but one stood out, Bennett Law Group. I clicked it and hit call. A woman's voice answered. Calm. Professional. Bennett Law Group, this is Rachel. Hey, I said, my voice rough. My name's Mike Collins. I need a divorce lawyer. All right, Mike, let's start with what's going on. I hesitated, then said it plain. My wife destroyed our house, blamed our neighbor, and now she's under arrest. There was a beat of silence. Then her tone softened just enough to sound human. That's a lot, but we can help you. When can you come in? Tomorrow. As early as you've got. She scheduled it quick and clean, then thanked me and hung up. For the first time all night, I felt something shift. Not relief exactly, more like a weight loosening. I looked around at the wreckage, the proof of everything that had been wrong for years, and finally saw it for what it was. The end. And the start of me getting my life back. The next morning, I walked into Bennett Law Group wearing the same jeans from yesterday, still smelling faintly like drywall dust and stress. The front office was clean, quiet, fake plants, beige walls, and the low hum of a printer somewhere behind the reception desk. Mike Collins? A woman called from a side door. Yeah. She nodded. Rachel Bennett. Come on back. Her office was small but organized. No nonsense, no clutter. She motioned for me to sit, then clicked a pen and opened a yellow notepad. So, you said your wife was arrested? I nodded. Filing a false police report. Claimed someone broke into our house. Turned out she did it herself. There's footage. Cops have it. She didn't blink. Just wrote that down. Any kids? No. Joint assets. I leaned back. We've got the house. It's in both our names, but I've made every payment. She's never worked full-time. I've also got my truck, my retirement account, and she's got that Civic we bought last year. That's about it. Rachel glanced up. She ever contributed to the mortgage? No. Not one dime. She nodded again, quick and sharp. Then we make the case that you keep the house. The truck stays with you. Retirement stays untouched. The car she drives goes to her. Anything else? I shook my head. Just want her out of my life. She paused her pen. Mike, you need to be aware. She's going to contest this. With her pending charges, she won't have a strong case, but she may still try to go after spousal support or part of your assets. Especially if she feels backed into a corner. She can try, I said. She's not getting another cent from me. Rachel gave me a small, tight smile. I believe you. Just don't underestimate how ugly it can get. When people like her start losing control, they look for new ways to stay in the game. Legal, emotional, financial, you name it. I crossed my arms. Let her come for me. I'm done playing defense. All right then, she said, flipping to a new page. Let's draft the papers. For the next hour, we walked through every detail. She asked questions and I answered straight, no fluff, no dragging it out. Felt good. Like taking out the trash after it's been piling up for weeks. When we finished, Rachel looked me dead in the eye. You sure you're ready for this? Once we file, it moves fast. Especially with the criminal case happening at the same time. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I said. She slid the draft across the desk for me to review. Good. Because once this starts, you need to be all in. No backpedaling. No guilt. I picked up the pen and signed. No guilt left. She made sure of that. Rachel gathered the papers and stood. We'll serve her officially once the charges are filed. Shouldn't take long. I shook her hand. Firm. No hesitation. Outside, the air felt different, cooler, cleaner somehow. I stood on the sidewalk, staring down at my truck, thinking about how long I'd been carrying dead weight, pretending things were okay. Now it was all out in the open. No more secrets. No more excuses. Just me finally getting my life back on track. One signature at a time. I had just finished fixing a busted fence post in the backyard when my phone rang. Unknown number, but I picked up anyway. Mike Collins. Yeah. Who's this? Detective Roberts. We've got a situation. I wiped my hands on my jeans. What now? She violated the restraining order. Showed up at your neighbor's work. Jason, right? Jesus Christ. She caused a public disturbance. Screaming, throwing stuff. Jason's coworkers called it in. We picked her up 20 minutes ago. I turned and stared at the grass like it might give me answers. Is he okay? Shaken. But fine. No injuries. Look, Mike. I've dealt with this kind of behavior before. When someone loses control like this, they look for any crack they can slip into. She's unraveling. I figured as much after the third blocked number. I muttered. She's back in holding now. This time, it's violating a protective order and harassment. You might want to talk to your lawyer. We'll send over the report tonight. Thanks, I said and hung up. I didn't even sit down. Just called Jason. He answered right away. Man, I don't know what the hell that was. Roberts just called me. Jason let out a shaky breath. I'm at work, right? Just minding my business. Suddenly she storms in, yelling my name, accusing me of, I don't even know what, said I was part of some plan to ruin her. She started knocking stuff off the damn shelves. I squeezed the phone harder. I'm sorry, man. I didn't think she'd go that far. I've seen her upset before, sure. But this wasn't the same person. Her eyes were wild. Like she wasn't even really there. Yeah, I said, voice low. I'm starting to get it. There was a pause. Jason cleared his throat. I'm not mad at you. I know this isn't on you. But damn, Mike, you really didn't see it before. I saw pieces. I said. But I always looked away. Thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was the problem. Well, now you know. Yeah, now I know. After we hung up, I just stood there for a while, the hammer still in my hand, sun creeping down behind the trees. It was like I could finally see her clearly. Not the version I tried to believe in, just the truth. No more masks. No more spin. Rachel called later that evening, already ahead of the news. She's going to fight dirty now, she said. She'll probably try to use the incident to say she was provoked. But with a second arrest, it's going to be hard for her to gain any sympathy. Do we need to change anything with the paperwork? I asked. No. If anything, this strengthens your case. Judges don't like people who violate court orders. It shows instability. I'll file a supplemental motion in the morning. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. All right, let's keep it moving. She paused. You hanging in there? I am now. And I meant it. The air felt lighter these days. I'd been staying busy, cleaning the house, fixing things I'd ignored for months, getting my tools in order again. Simple stuff, but it mattered. Every day without one of Sarah's outbursts, without her twisting reality to make me feel like I was the crazy one. It was like my brain was finally breathing. Rachel kept me updated as court dates rolled out. She didn't sugarcoat anything. Said it might take weeks, maybe months, but that we were on solid ground. Her voice was steady, confident, the kind of tone that made you believe you weren't alone in the storm anymore. Even when Sarah's name popped up in my voicemail again, this time from jail, begging me to just hear her out, I didn't flinch. I deleted it without listening past the first second. There was no going back. Not after everything she'd done. Not after seeing how far she'd go to keep control. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was done. The courtroom smelled like cheap wood polish and anxiety. I sat stiff in the second row, hands clasped, eyes locked forward. Sarah was already at the defense table, flanked by her attorney. A woman with a tight ponytail and the kind of face that always looked annoyed. Sarah didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, really, just stared straight ahead like she was already somewhere else. The judge entered and we all stood. State of Ohio versus Sarah Collins, the clerk announced. Charges: falsifying a police report and violation of a court-issued protective order. My heart thudded once, hard. Then it went quiet. The prosecutor stepped up first. He was clean-cut, early 40s maybe, and calm in that deadly kind of way that made it clear he'd done this before. He played the footage without hesitation. There it was, our living room, the camera angle catching every movement. Sarah tossing the remote like it was a grenade, lifting the lamp with both hands, driving it into the screen again and again, moving around the house with focus, knocking things over, yanking drawers. The sound of the room changed when the video played. No one said a word, not even a cough. When it ended, the prosecutor turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, this was not a panicked act. This was methodical. This was staged. Followed by a false accusation, followed by another arrest when she violated a court order. This is a pattern, not a mistake. Then it was the defense's turn. Sarah's lawyer stood, smoothed her skirt, and launched into a speech about emotional instability, mental health, pressure, trauma. She felt trapped in a marriage that offered no emotional support, the lawyer said. She acted out of desperation, not deceit. I didn't move. I didn't roll my eyes or scoff or react. I just watched. Sarah still hadn't looked at me once. The defense rested and we all waited. The jury was sent out to deliberate, and I stood up, stretching legs that felt like concrete. Rachel leaned in from behind me. She didn't help herself, she whispered. That footage buried her. I know, I said. I was there. An hour later, the jury came back. Fast. That was never a good sign for the defense anyway. The foreman stood. Guilty on both counts. Sarah didn't flinch. No tears. No outburst. Just a blank face like she was watching someone else's life fall apart. The judge thanked the jury, then turned to Sarah. Sentencing will follow within the week. For now, you'll remain in custody. Her lawyer whispered something in her ear. Sarah didn't nod, didn't blink, just stood there, cold and still, like the woman I used to know had been completely replaced. After court adjourned, Roberts caught me by the exit. "This'll make your divorce a hell of a lot easier," he said. "Judge will see the pattern. You're almost through it." "Almost," I said, "but I'll take it." He patted my shoulder once and left. Rachel walked with me to the parking lot. She didn't say much, just gave me a nod before heading to her car. I sat in my truck for a minute, both hands on the wheel, not turning the key. It wasn't joy, wasn't even relief. It was something else. Vindication, maybe. Proof that I hadn't imagined it all. That everything she'd put me through, gaslighting, lies, the chaos, was real. And now the world saw it too. She'd fooled everyone for years. Friends, neighbors, even me. But not anymore. I looked at the courthouse doors one last time, then started the engine. The next hearing would be for the divorce. And this time, she wouldn't be able to spin her way out. The divorce hearing lasted less than 15 minutes. I sat next to Rachel at the petitioner's table, watching the judge skim through the file like it was already decided. And honestly, it was criminal conviction, restraining order violations, false reports. Sarah didn't stand a chance. Her lawyer barely spoke. When the judge hit his gavel, it was like a door slammed shut. Mr. Collins will retain ownership of the marital home, the truck, and his full retirement account. Ms. Collins will retain the jointly purchased vehicle in her possession and is responsible for her own legal costs. Sarah didn't look at me. She just stood up and walked out like someone hit mute on her personality. No eye contact, no last words, nothing. And that was the most peace she'd ever given me. I stayed in my seat a few seconds longer, just breathing. Rachel tapped my arm and leaned in. "That's it. You're done." I followed her out of the courtroom, but not before catching one last glimpse of Sarah, standing near the exit with her arms crossed, chin down like a scolded child. She looked small, not sad, not angry, just hollow. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. I felt free. The next couple months moved fast. I repainted the living room, replaced the shattered TV, fixed the gutters she always nagged about but never touched. Every little repair felt like taking my life back one nail at a time. I went out with friends I hadn't seen in years. Ate steak at a bar instead of sitting in silence over whatever low-carb frozen meal she said we were trying that week. I laughed again, loud, full, real laughter. I hadn't realized how long it had been. Eventually, I met someone new. A nurse. Kind, smart, no drama. We took it slow, grabbed coffee, swapped stories, and for once, I didn't feel like I had to explain or defend my life. I just lived it. That last court date stayed in my mind, though. Not in a heavy way, just as a marker. The day I stopped carrying her weight. I was driving away from the courthouse when it really hit me. Windows down, music low, sun starting to set over the trees along Route 26. I was free, not just legally, mentally, emotionally, fully, and I wasn't going back. Would you have forgiven Sarah or walked away for good? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true story confessions.